Rev up your engines! Marjorie says, love your channel. I'm getting a 2022 RAV4 retail price, MSRP. Did I make a good buy in today's market? Well, you made about the only buy you can. They'll never sell them cheaper now. Not until we get a recession and interest rates go real high, and then they'll have to because people won't buy them anymore. But that's about the best deal that you can get. My son is just buying four-wheel drive Tacoma, and he had to pay a list, and he's been waiting. He had to wait like 6 weeks to get the thing. There's nothing you can do these days. It's just that the prices have gone bananas, and that's about the only deal you can get. You're lucky they didn't jack it up more now. Normally, though, Toyota, the Japanese owners, they frown on their dealers raking their customers over the coals. So they're not as bad as like Ford, where, oh, we got the new Broncos, we'll sell them for 20 grand more than list. You know, Toyota generally doesn't allow their dealerships to do that because they don't want a bad image. They're smarter. They're not thinking short-term greed like the American dealers are. Sarah Bennett says, my 2016 Ford Focus is shaking during acceleration, 65,000 miles. What do I do? I hate to break the bad news to you, but it's probably your transmission. They should have junked all of those. Ford they either buy back the car or they have to fix the transmission free. Take it to a dealer and see what they say. The only problem is it was one of those class action lawsuits and they cut a deal, and as usual the slimy lawyers are doing this, that, and everything else. And the deal was, well, if they don't fix it, they have to buy it back. But it's like they have to pay between $2,000 and $25,000 to buy it back. Every single customer I had with one, they offered them $2,000, $2,500. You know they're going to lowball it. And you probably not to take that kind of money unless you got it really cheap. But take it in. They're supposed to fix them free. They have those stupid automatic transmissions that were piles of crap. Ford made them wrong. They knew it. Now, they either got to fix it or buy the car back. Start there and see what happens. Because if you're going to pay a mechanic to fix that transmission, hardly anybody knows how to work on those transmissions. It costs $4 or $5 grand easy to have somebody actually fix it correctly. Richie says, are Vortec engines any good? The Vortec engines themselves are generally pretty good engines. The problem is the fuel injection system that General Motors put on was crap. Had all this plastic stuff, and as they age, man alive, they leak, and then it cost a fortune. It's just the ancillary stuff on it were absolute crap. Just like the GMs that had diesel engines on them, right? The diesel engines themselves are okay, but all the electronics and the computer fuel injection stuff for those diesel engines is not good. And it breaks all the time. The engines could run forever. They're not going to run forever if the fuel injection system isn't working correctly, and they have a lot of problems with them as they age. Francisco says, Scotty, I'm looking at a used Ford F-150 extended cab. Should I go with a 2.7 EcoBoost or a 3.3 liter V6? What do you think? Go for the 3.3 liter V6. You don't want an EcoBoost engine. The turbos wear out. It has dual turbos, turbo on each side. They're very expensive. They wear out in Fords. But with the bigger engine that's going to last longer, yeah, it doesn't have the same horsepower, but it's got enough horsepower to get you around. Especially you're talking about buying used. Who knows what people took care of. Now, if I ever did buy a dual turbo engine, I doubt if I ever will, but if I did, I would change the oil filter every 4,000 miles with the best synthetic oil I could get because it lubricates the engines, it lubricates the turbos, and you don't know what the previous owners have done. So I would not buy a EcoBoost used. I'd go with the non-EcoBoost one that's a bigger engine that can take the strain better. Aiden says, I got a 2016 Buick Encore. It blows warm air when the AC is set to low. What could be causing this? I'm assuming when you put it on high, it blows plenty cold. It could be the simplest thing on earth, and pray it is. And it's a little bit low on refrigerant, and they'll often do that. Also, check the cooling fans. You got two cooling fans on a radiator. Turn the AC on, watch them. Maybe only one's blowing, and that's totally typical. If one's blowing and not the other, you get some airflow, but it won't flow enough. That could also be it. And then pray it's not. The compressor's starting to go out, because they can do that, or pray that you don't have an electronic problem. I've had customers with GMs that if they kept their cars for 10 years, they would have to replace that computer control unit in the dash 3 times. They're so poorly made. Pray it's not that. First have the refrigerant checked. It could be easy as it's just low on refrigerant. Pray it's that. Vape King says, remanufactured AC compressor, yes or no? I generally say no. And here's the reason why. When I was a young mechanic, they were all made out of metal. Now almost everything inside there is plastic. Most of them even have plastic pistons. I'm not making this up. Plastic pistons. It's all plastic crap. Most of them are not made to be remanufactured. And I read a study a few months ago. A guy in Florida who was an AC expert studied remanufactured AC compressors. And he said most of them only put out 1/2 to 1/3 the refrigerant power that a brand new one did. That's how poorly remanufactured they are. I personally have had much better luck buying, if you want to save money, buying Chinese-made new ones than I have with ever getting the remanufactured ones, because at least the Chinese ones are brand new. And they're plastic too, but it's brand new plastic. You really want a plastic thing that was broken and then fixed? That never bodes well. Plastic is not rebuildable. You can't fix the stuff. It's just, you throw it away. So you got to go new on most if you're going to do it. You know, you just have to, because you can't really fix them. They're too cheaply made. Donna says, I got an '06 Mini Cooper S, 99,000 miles. How long do you think it'll last me? Well, you know, I'm not a fan of them. But I had a guy a few months ago bring one here, and he had 145,000 miles on it. He loved it. He didn't put any money in it, but, and this is a gigantic but, he was nuts about his car. He changed the oil himself every 4,000 miles with full synthetic oil. He really took care of that thing, and it still ran quite well. But on the other hand, the average American who doesn't maintain stuff, I've had people buy those, the engine blew up at 65,000 miles because they didn't take care of them. They are made in England, and so they got a lot of quality control problems in them. If you really take care of them, they can last, and yours has got 99,000, so maybe you've been taking good care of it. Just don't beat it, you know. Don't make a point of doing burnouts and going super high RPMs all the time, because it'll destroy them. They're not all that strong. They can be fun puddling if you're the type of guy who doesn't like 70, 75, that's it. They might last forever. But if you're pushing the limits, no, it'll wear out pretty soon. Tom Banta says, I have an Innova 6100P scanner. Pretty good scanner. I don't get code numbers with flashing red dots or oxygen sensor, evap cat heater. What does this mean? 2001 Kia. Well, it means if you've been driving any length of time, like weeks, and you go on the highway, go in the city, it means that for some reason, your car's computer will not run through the drive cycle so you can get your car inspected. When the red stuff is on, that monitor is not ready. And you can't get your car inspected if it's a state that inspects for emissions, because you have to have everything ready and no codes. Now, you don't have any codes yet, but those are all flashing on. Pray if you just drive it 300-400 miles, including the highway, say it'll go away. If it doesn't, it can be a rat's nest. It could be a catalytic converter, doesn't allow it to finish the check, and it's bad enough that it won't finish the check, but not bad enough that it'll trip the code for the catalytic converter. You're kind of in the twilight zone of car analytics, and I've seen that so many times on cars. At least when I'm in Tennessee, no one cares. If it's doing that, but it runs okay, people just say, what do I care? Nobody expects these things. They don't inspect them. You don't care if it runs okay. But if you live in a state where they do emissions testing, you can't get it inspected, and you can spend a fortune. There's so many weird things that can make it do it. Because if it trips a code, at least you know where to look. But if it doesn't trip a code, but it won't set those off and they keep flashing red with the scanner, you can't get inspected, but you don't know where to look for the problem. It's hellacious for us mechanics because we need somewhere to start. And if there's no code, it makes it a lot harder to figure out why isn't this thing finishing all the checks. And it just flashes not ready, not ready. It can be a stinker. Ricardo says, what are your thoughts on a Volkswagen Passat station wagon 98 to 2005? I'm thinking about buying one. Think again. Think again. I had a lady customer in Houston. She bought it new and loved it. I love my station wagon. 7 years later, that's the worst car I ever had. I put so much money in this pile of junk. And I mean, the thing only had like 68,000 miles on it, too. It wasn't like it was high mileage. They're just piles of junk. They're over-engineered. Everything is Volkswagen. Half the parts are made out of plastic. They crack and break. She had to replace the door handles like 3 or 4 times. They kept snapping off because they're made out of cheap plastic. Don't waste your money on that car. They're terrible vehicles. Now, they're fun to drive when they're running. That's why she loved it when she bought it new. But as it was breaking all the time, it cost a fortune. The AC in Houston broke, cost her fortune to fix it. Who ever heard of a car with 68,000 miles? With the AC broken, of course, it broke way before then, so that's when she got rid of it. Poorly designed, extremely expensive to repair, and parts are also extremely expensive to buy, even if you do your own repair. So if I were you, I'd run away. You want an older station wagon? Look for like a Honda Accord station wagon, or a Toyota station wagon, a Camry station wagon. Back then, those were great vehicles that could run forever and didn't cost a fortune to fix like those stupid Volkswagens do. Golly says, I got an '08 Toyota Land Cruiser. V8, everything's fine, but the cruise control doesn't turn on. What's wrong? Okay, well, unfortunately, that's all a computerized system. There's nothing that you can fix yourself because it's all electronic. It's not like the old days where there was a vacuum line that went to the throttle and the vacuum hose could fall off. There's nothing you can really do. Check the fuses. Maybe it blew a fuse, but I doubt it. Usually it's the control module goes bad. You couldn't fix that. Then you got to reprogram the computer. But I mean, look around. Maybe Maybe it blew a fuse, but then again, if it blew a fuse, there's usually a reason it blew a fuse. And if you just put another fuse in, guess what? It's going to blow too. So if you can find a guy like me, we can hook up our machine. We can go pretty fast to see, hey, what's going on? And all the ones that I saw, it was a control module, and that's a really expensive endeavor. But you never know. Sometimes you get lucky, and it's just the brake light switch. The brake light switch is part of that cruise control system. So if you're a riverboat gambler, you can get them anywhere. Go to AutoZone, any place. Just make sure it's a brake light switch for that, or for one that has cruise control, because there's one without cruise control and one with cruise control. You have to get the brake light switch for cruise control. It just bolts on and off under the dash on top of where your brake pedal is. It's easy to change. Maybe that'll fix it. You never know. That's the only thing that you can do cheap yourself. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.